What is going down, Sourdough Squad and Spicy Squad? We are back for yet again another State of the Franchise episode surrounding the San Francisco 49ers. We've got a lot of talk about. This is going to be our first post-mortem of the year, so we'll get into a little bit of the Bears 49ers game. We'll talk a preview of Seattle coming up. That rain seems to be following us around, but we'll get into it all right after this. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. You guys already know the vibes. Drop your spicy sourdough emojis in the chat as we get this conversation started. Before we get into the nitty-gritty about football, Jason, what are the vibes this week after the loss to the Bears?
Absolute panic. Burn it all down. It is over. Like, absolutely abandon ship, all of that. Drop your, and whatever it is, sell. Do not buy 49ers stock. It's over. Don't even play the rest of the games.
I mean, it's been wild. I mean, we'll talk about our fan. We know what our fan base is. Our fan base is extremely passionate about their team. When they win, they're there to celebrate. And when they lose, they want to know why. So we get it. We understand that. But what is your take on the continual national conversation from journalists, reporters? Mike Martz made quite the stink from seemingly going from liking Trey Lance to doesn't want anything to do with them. You already know the vibes with everyone else. Is this kind of unprecedented to see for a quarterback getting his third career start only in a year two to just be written off so quickly?
I don't know if it's unprecedented, but it's something I haven't seen in a long time. The only other person that I could think of that continuously got hate even before he even played a game was somebody like Lamar Jackson. You know, Bill Polian telling him that he needs to play wide receiver, all of those things. Right, like, yeah, cool, unanimous MVP. Good call, Bill. But, at the same time, a lot of this we knew, or at least 49er fans should have known this was going to come. When you notice how many people were talking about Trey Lance last year when he wasn't starting and how much they had already kind of started to get the ball rolling with the narrative about, Jimmy G's a winner, this, and that. And then when you pile on Jimmy Garoppolo being the backup, it is literally these national analysts, these people who do content just like us, just on a bigger stage. They just get out of bed and they get their clicks. And this is what it was going to be. This is exactly what it was going to be. I don't think that anybody should be shocked. So this is going to be my plea to 49ers fans when it comes to this. If you don't want to hear it, don't listen to it. If you don't want to engage in it, don't engage with it. If you knew that this was going to happen, leave it alone. Don't say anything about it. Do not drive any more traffic to it at this point, because the national media has learned right after the Pickett 3 stuff all the way through that the way that you gain clicks is you talk about the 49ers quarterback, and that is the best way I can put it, guys. You don't want to hear it. It doesn't matter. Mike Martz, shut the hell up. You're in between naps. Nobody cares. And everybody else that is literally just regurgitating the same thing. I mean, if I was a guy who was out of the league or an analyst or something like that, and I get sent to Colin Cowherd, I already know what I got to say. Yeah, man, I don't know. That kid's not ready. I don't know how you can sit that kid. I don't know how you could sit Jimmy Garoppolo behind it. Listen, if we knew it was going to happen, which we did, then you've got to ignore it. I know it's week 1, but watch how quickly things will change when the 49ers win a few ball games because, guys, I was joking earlier. They're not going to go 0-17. So at the same time, we knew it was going, but stop feeding the fire. Don't give it any more oxygen, please.
And I think that's the biggest point. We have a passionate fan base, so you're going to get both sides of it, and they're going to ingest the content, and they're going to talk about it. The biggest way to take the power away from these guys is to just not engage with it, but it also is really hard because I think as fans, it's in our core DNA to defend the team that we represent, and especially if you believe in Trey Lance, you believe in the 49ers, as we do, it can kind of get to you a little bit, right? Because, and I think you also spoke to it, we knew that this was going to be a work in progress. I don't think we ever did one show throughout the offseason and said, oh, the 49ers going to come out lights out. It's Patrick Mahomes 2.0. We were like, no. Patrick Mahomes 2.0, he is a outlier. Like that's a unicorn. Like that's an exception. It's not the rule kind of a thing, right? So it just feels like the continued talk outside of that is they're using the Patrick Mahomes kind of and what he did in his second year sitting behind Alex Smith. And they're like, well, this is the bar, Trey Lance. You got to meet it. And, oh, you didn't play well in a monsoon. And he actually did play well. But you look at the numbers that they pull and all that type of stuff in the second half, and they're going to say, oh, Trey Lance didn't play that well against the Bears. You had Colin Cowherd saying, oh, it doesn't matter. I don't want to hear excuses about the rain. You got to land the plane. You got to do it. Like, so
totally the same thing. Totally the same thing. Holding people's lives in your hands and landing the plane is totally the same thing from playing NFL quarterback, man. God, Colin Cowherd is mad because of Trey doing something to his daughter, man. Let's just say it. That's it. I'm going to say it. If y'all ain't going to say it, I'm going to say it.
He said it. It's been a wild ride for sure. But what is your take on Trey Lance? Again, we don't need to talk about everyone else's take. What was your take on Trey Lance and how he performed against the Bears?
That was emblematic of what you're going to be looking at, whether it's rain, shine, dome, outside, on Mars, on Earth, wherever Trey Lance is going to be playing football. It literally, that game encapsulates the up and downs that everybody had already talked themselves into. Now, when you look at the passing charts, you look down the field, you look past 10 and 20 on the outside numbers, he's damn near perfect on those, right? But then he'll skip a ball into Deebo Samuel on a tunnel screen or, miss a guy over the middle. That's going to be the experience. We said this. You're going to get the wild plays. I felt the best throw was obviously that one to Ray McCloud, which was layered in between three guys. Look at that throw, right? That's a throw that if I said this is basically how Trey Lance's day went, and I showed you this one, you would have said, "Oh my God, he lit up the world." But then
I think Patrick Mahomes actually had a very similar play that NFL was posting on all their social platforms. It was very similar, and you're like, you saw the anticipation, and you saw it was a layered throw with great accuracy. That was a really good throw.
It's a deep over, to the other side. Like it's not an easy thing to do. But at the same time, you'll see a tunnel screen get missed. You'll see Juwan Jennings not sit his route down in between two zone defenders and trade through it where he thought he was going to sit. And that looks like a bad ball. There's so many things to break into it. But for me, it didn't matter so much about the rain, but this is what it's going to be no matter what. And I think, again, for all the people that talk themselves into ups and downs, here are the downs. This is one of them, right? Because the team lost the game. Are you really prepared for it, or did you just say words in the offseason, right? Like you have to just go with what you've been saying because it's happening.
You got to say with your chest a little bit, right? You got to kind of stand on it. And I think, if I had to give my take on Trey Lance, I was actually watching the game and I'm like, I'm very I'm feeling really good about what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the way you talked about some of the throws that he was making. You had the deep ball down the left sideline to Juwan Jennings that he was able to just step into his throw and lay it out there. He dropped it in there pretty well. You saw a lot of opportunities, but in some of the misses, I particularly like what he said on the miss to Tyler Kroft. It felt like he was just like, he knew he had it open, but he was over analyzing where to place the ball. And I feel like when we talk about going back to OTAs, training camp, preseason, when we talk about Trey Lance and the need to get reps, those are the reps that you need, because right there is a perfect example of not having the reps and just over analyzing what you really needed to do. When you put yourself in those situations over and over again, it becomes more muscle memory and less kind of trying to analyze in real time, like what's the trajectory I need to put. You just throw it and your arm's going to put it there. So I think that play was a perfect example of just get the guy the reps. He's going to need those reps. There's going to be opportunities that he's going to hit. He's going to miss some too, but that's what we say when you need to give him the reps and allow him those opportunities to make the misses so that the next time it comes around, he already has a baseline of what he understands he needs to do. And he spoke to that. He's like, I know what I need to do next time. Right. So a lot of good reps. We saw what he did with his legs. I thought he was phenomenal. Converting third downs. Obviously, we're going to track him protecting himself throughout the year, but I really like the way that he was able to maneuver in the pocket, create, extend, and get some first downs with his legs. What did you think about his running ability?
So two things before that, we get to that about the Tyler Croft play. One, that leak play is just never going to get hit. I think it's just never going to get hit. I mean, Jimmy couldn't hit it.
Doesn't matter who the quarterback is.
Jimmy couldn't hit it. Nick Mullins couldn't hit it. Trey can't hit it. So he's like following right. That's that leadership that I love. Two, I think that incrementally what you see is the little things like that. And it's the third down to Ross Dwelly in which the pocket's collapsing and he steps up in the pocket and showed good pocket maneuvering. Didn't look like he was panicked, and he threw a dart to Ross Dwelly. Again, when people ask questions about, well, what's a successful season, is you want to see the steps. And those steps won't be quantified with completion percentage, yards, deep throws, anything like that. Those little things are going to be the steps that need to be taken, and you can only see with your eyes and not contextualize with any stats. That is going to be the best way to imply where he is in week 17 at the end of this season moving forward. Those are the things you want to see. If the pocket's collapsing, just step right up, know exactly where your guys are, keep your eyes downfield, and deliver a ball on third down. On 3rd and 9 to Ross Dwelly over the middle on when everything's happening like that.
Yeah.
That's
and
what
a
you want to see.
must-have type of moment too. That was one of those where I was sweating a little bit. I was like,
Yes.
"Oh man, this is a lot of pressure on this play," and he delivered on it.
Right. So that's what you want to see and everything. This game has kind of shifted away from the fact that the 49ers largely beat themselves with penalties on 3rd down and turn the ball over, as opposed to is now it's just, oh, well, Trey Lance isn't good enough to get it done. Yeah, well, when you give the Chicago Bears 5 first downs on 3rd down with penalties, when you fumble in the red zone, when you do miss the shot that Trey misses, that's generally how you lose games in this league. And it doesn't really matter about the gap between the roster, the gap between the coaching. It is just the way that things are. That's an NFL team on the other side. They get paid. And if you leave out things like coverage busts and things like that, and they convert, that's what NFL teams will do. And that's why you lost the game. Nothing to do with necessarily Trey as a performance. They could have still won that game with that same stat line. I promise you they could have.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just how now this is shifted, and this is what it's going to be all year because people have been waiting to take their shot on this kid.
Of course. And I don't think, anyone has given enough credit to the Bears defense. The Bears defense knew what the 49ers were trying to do, especially in the run game. They had an answer like I've never seen on tape before for, how they run the misdirection plays. They really figured out that if they see Trent or Mike blocking down, their DN's just squeezed, which shortens the hole for where they're trying to kick out and run behind. Whether it was Debo, whether it was Elijah Mitchell, they made some good adjustments to bounce it outside and get open. But there was a clear plan from the Bears defense to stop the 49ers. And I felt like that really showed up in the second half as well. They were trying to do where you have, Kyle Juszczyk kind of flanked in the I formation. He takes those 2 first steps to the left, cuts it back to the opposite side. They did not bite at all, and they all rotated over and just stuffed it. They were ready. Clearly, they were doing their tape study. You heard Dominique Robinson talking about they figured out a tell on
great point
on Trent Williams. Like they were prepared for the San Francisco 49ers, and it really did show. And I don't think that's talked about enough. They put the emphasis on Trey, right? And we know how it goes, but there needs to be an emphasis. The Bears were prepared. And, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how the coaching staff responds to that, especially with Seattle seeing that tape.
Very good point. And that's what I was going to bring up. I mean, Dominique Robinson being a rookie to be able to say something like that means that, Trent Williams has been putting that on tape for 10 years now. And that attention to detail is like, I mean, at the same time, that could be all around the league and people could know, and you still aren't going to be able to beat that man. So let's just say that maybe that was just this one game. So maybe they'll be able to tell on certain things, but it's not like, Trent's going to all of a sudden start getting beat now because people have a tell. He could probably tell the guy in front of him, it's a pass, and try to come get to me, and I'm going to toss you to the ground. So, but it was really good that you pointed that out because I think it's Jordan that has spoken to this as well too, is so many people, including myself, which I just did in my initial statement about, well, you blew the game. Sometimes you got to give credit to the opponent, and the opponent did, just enough to get it done. They didn't really kill themselves when it came to penalties and things like that. You can always look at certain stats and things that can, show you why you lost the game. But, sometimes it is good to just give credit to the opposing team for converting on them.
Yeah, they did a lot better than I was anticipating. It felt like they had a really good plan. 49ers Throwback says, "Hey, Brad and Jason, just to say thank you and appreciate your show and shout out 49ers Throwback, always showing love on
Yes.
Twitter and sharing our stuff. We really do appreciate that. I miss George Kittle on the field. We heard from Kyle Shanahan that no George Kittle is practicing today, but they are at least hopeful that he will be playing this week. If you had to give a way too early percentage chance that George Kittle plays against Seattle, what would you give it?
I'll give it 50-50 on it. It's Wednesday, my dudes. And I think he alluded to it to another reporter where he said he's far, far ahead of where he was last week. Kind of when, again, when he doesn't practice on Thursday, when he doesn't practice on Friday, then I would lean much. I mean, it goes down. The odds go down each day. But on the other hand, George Kittle doesn't have to be a guy who practices really that much. So, I mean, that's the other thing. But right now, I'll put it at 50-50, hedge my bet. But yeah, it is Wednesday. Tomorrow is going to be very telling to see where he's headed.
I think that's a safe bet to hedge there. But I think Kyle Shanahan did talk about that they thought about playing him against the Bears, or at least that's the way it's been presented. They traveled with him. So it sounds like they thought about it, but they didn't want to push it too far. We'll see. Again, if he practices on Friday, I think that's the biggest thing. As long as he puts up a limited participation on Friday, that is going to be the indication. He could miss tomorrow, but Friday, I think, is going to be the key date to see if we actually see movement. Throwback also goes on to say the O-line was bad as I thought. I actually am going to respectfully disagree. I thought the offensive line was better than I thought. Again, it's why I don't react to the broadcast. I save my opinions for the offensive line until the tape comes around. Then I watch the tape and I'm like, okay, I feel a lot better about this. I think when we look at the offensive line, you'll see mistakes. It's not they weren't perfect and by any stretch of the imagination, but they also, I don't believe, are as bad as the kind of narrative that's being spun out there. So what were your thoughts on the offensive line, the performance, and everything in between?
Yeah, again, when it comes down to offensive line, people always want to cite pass block win rate. When wasn't as bad. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
he knows
much
he
better.
knows what he's talking about. But at the same time, I think the two things that I was ready to set my watch to were the tackles. Trent's going to be Trent. That'll be fine. And McGlinchey's going to be McGlinchey. In whatever way you view that is what I want to put a disclaimer on that, right? Because there are varying opinions on Mike McGlinchey, okay? So let me just say that. You've got two rookies and you've
Well
got
said.
right. You like that, right? Two rookies at guard, and you've got a center that has never really taken snaps with a first team offense for the 49ers, right? So that's largely unknown. I thought that certain points in the game, one guy would pick it up and then the next guy would kind of falter and then he would pick it up and then that guy would falter.
Yeah, exactly.
I also want to point out that there are times when I watch the tape that it was 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds. Look, guys, this is the NFL. That's it. Like, that's all you can expect at this point. So when you look back at it, I don't think it's nearly as bad. I do think there are concerns as usual. You can definitely be concerned about things. Mike whiffed on some blocks. Banks missed on some run blocks. I felt Brenda was okay, but towards the end of the game kind of faltered a little bit more. It's really jarring to see Trent Williams have two pressures.
Trent
right?
looked like a human being, and I was shook by it. I was like,
Having
he
said
looks
that,
like a normal line.
him having two pressures knocked him down from the best of the, like, that's the difference between the best in the world and like the fifth best left tackle in the league, which is still very good. So again, I don't suspect that that's going to happen again. Just is what it is. You got to call it out the way it is. But we are so used to it just being clean sheet Trent Williams 0, 0, 0 to see two is jarring. It really is jarring. NFL fans are jarred by that number. They're like, wait, what? Like you mean like the guy that is kind of pushing, if he continues his way into a discussion of being the best tackle has ever done it, like him, like that's just a little bit jarring. But at the same time, I don't think it was nearly as bad. I do think there were moments where guys missed, and everybody's good at posting that one clip, that one random clip of hey, he got blown by, he was getting his ass whipped. Yeah, well then post the other 22 of like when he actually held up and he stopped guys. Like, so again, 22-1, those, I'm not good at math, more than the other. Let's Let's put some context to this. Let's look at the whole big picture, and let's also remember we don't know the scap, we don't know the protection, what's called, we don't know what the progressions were, we don't know what the first reads are, we don't know what the hots are. So maybe guys are blocking, thinking something else is going to happen. Again, all of these things are going to take care of itself with more reps. That's it.
I think first, considering the offensive line, and the entire interior being an unknown, I felt better, like, especially after watching it back. I think you said it perfectly. You can go down the line. Even Spencer Burford, who I think had a really good game. You could
Best
see,
lineman on the field for me. Best lineman on the
especially
field for me.
he was really good, but especially early, he had 3 or 4 technical mistakes where he put himself out of position just because he took a wrong step or used a wrong technique. But everyone on the offensive line did that. So, but you also had the opposite side of it where Spencer Burford, I posted a couple plays. He had a really nice pull when they were squeezing down the line of scrimmage. He did a really good job of rolling the block, and it popped Deebo Samuel for a really big gain. Mike McGlinchey had multiple pancake blocks. He was looking really good in the run game. Obviously, that one whiff wasn't a good play. Better play by Dominique Robinson, who, man, I think he's going to be a stud. I remember, Jason, we were at the combine. I saw Dominique Robinson walk by holding a 49ers bag. I'm like, oh, well, this guy clearly just met with the 49ers.
Dude, and he used to play wide receiver and
For
something.
3 years. He played
What?
wide receiver for 3 years, and like, we're going to switch you to D end
We're gonna
in your
sit you
senior
to edge.
season.
Man, what?
He's a freak, man. So he's
Yeah.
athletically a freak. You got a wide receiver who's tough enough, long enough to be playing defensive end, and he was one of the best players on the defensive side of the football for the Bears. He looks like he's going to be a very talented guy. So got to give credit to him. Was it a rep that Mike loved and would definitely want to have back? Absolutely, because he hit him with a mean swipe. Set him stemmed up outside, just went whap right on his hands, went like this, and it was a wrap after that. So Mike clearly not happy with himself after that, but I thought he did okay considering the knee issues that he's suffered with. But the whole offensive line as a whole gave me optimism because it's week 1. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. You got a rookie start and you got a second-year player getting his first start. Jake Brendel is a journeyman, but he knows that he's got all the pressure in the world because he's a starting center for the San Francisco 49ers. And we look at Trent, our freaking Iron Man over there. He had a rough day in the office. So I think all things considered, everything that we saw is correctable, right? So heading into week 2, I think Kyle Shanahan spoke to it. We're hoping to have a cleaner day. And I think that would apply to the offensive line as well. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, let's not penalize ourselves for almost 100 yards. Give them 5 third downs. Let's not turn the ball over in the red zone. Yeah, and let's stick to our principles on coverage busts. Yeah, I would guess he would want it to be a lot more clean, and I think that it will be. It just circumstances and when they happen. If the 49ers score one more time in the red zone or they put up one more touchdown, that game ends.
One less turnover.
Right. That game ends pretty quickly because then the Bears are going to have to throw, and they're not going to be gifted with a good field position on certain plays, man, and they're not going to have drives continued. I mean, Justin Fields had 110 passing yards, 74 on 1.
And he had a really ugly pick to Talanoa Hufanga. Like, it was like gross.
Can we and look, I know that you're not used to us disparaging our Prince.
I know.
But can we knock it off with the Justin Fields clearly outplayed Trey Lance? One play, 74 yards, and he had 109. I mean,
busted play.
He had 30 yards aside from that on all the other throws combined. Come on, man. The drives were kept alive on third down. It is no need to panic. That won't happen again.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw this comment. It distracted me, but I want to get it up. Who wins the beard war? He says, my money on Brad. No.
Always.
No.
Always.
I think
Andrew Pasquini.
This has to go to Andrew Pasquini.
Pasquini.
Without a doubt. I mean, he's looking fierce. The mane, the beard, it all looks like one, like it's connected. Fire. Absolutely.
Shout out to Pasquini.
We got to give it to Pasquini.
I walk around with him, and ladies are just fainting on the street, man, because of this beard.
Oh. Shout out Pasquini, man. What a legend. Cap says, my MVP bet not looking so good, Aponte, but it's still ride or die with Trey Area.
Brian, you know what's funny is a lot of people put money on Aaron Rodgers and probably feel the same way. And there was a funny little stat that came out today that, people are, because the odds are changing, right? And a popular bet right now is Jalen Hurts because of what he did in this game. So
He
right?
had
And
like 17 rushes, right?
his odds dramatically are still plus because of that. I still think it's Josh Allen in week 1 if we're giving the MVP right now. But
Josh is
but yeah,
nasty.
it's early, man. Yeah, Josh is that's different. That's otherworldly stuff. But shout out to the Bills Mafia. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah, dude. At least it felt like we got one win last week. I felt like I was riding high after the Bills absolutely dismantled the Rams, but kind of ended a little shortly after that Bears game. Let's talk about the defense a little bit, and then we'll of course transition into how we think it's going to play out against Seattle. But Talanoa Hufanga, was he the best player on the field for the defense?
Leo Luna came up with this stat on the Oh Hey There podcast. The him percentage, PFF's missing this
Ooh.
analytic.
Ooh.
His him percentage was off the charts in this one. And look,
Ooh, I like
I
that.
I think that D'Amico did exactly what we thought he would. Put him in spots where he can win, get him downfield. But he looked shot out of a cannon, man. He really was legit everywhere, and he pops off the screen. Again, there's metrics, and then there's that good old eye test, and you can tell when a guy's dominating. And there he was, man. I've got to give him. And then to have that interception, pick city is something that Jimmy Ward he was coined the phrase. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think that Charvarius Ward and Emmanuel Mosley were tested that many times. I think that changes as long as the rain doesn't follow. But yeah, he was far and away the best defender in this game, man.
Yeah, he was nice. I mean, he played the brand of football that I think we all expected. Cerebral player, puts himself around the ball every single time as a result. He knows where the ball's going to go, and he can put himself in position. I haven't watched the tape yet, so I've seen it kind of floating around on Twitter. I don't know if he was responsible for one of those touchdowns.
It depends on
or
who you ask. It depends on who you ask. I don't make assumptions on that type of stuff anymore, like about progressions, all that. Like I asked someone else who I think has a better. Yeah, exactly, Jesse, you got it. But like I don't make assumptions on those things because it's not necessarily true. Like, and if I don't know, I'm not going to say it. So I'd rather just shut the hell up and keep it to myself, man. But I'll ask other people and see what they say. You ask one person, he says this. You ask one person, he says this. The point is this. None of us are ever going to know unless we're in a defensive meeting. So let it go.
Good point. We can speculate all we want, but we will truthfully never actually know unless they told us themselves or we're in there with the coach and they're like, well, this is actually what was going down. But one of those touchdowns went to the Catman. Like,
of course.
Could it have played out any worse for us?
I love revenge games, just not when they happen against my team. Like, what the hell? Like, revenge game is my favorite narrative. It's the one that you cannot dispute, and it's real. But what the hell, man? Like, and that's my point, right? 70 yards on that one play for Justin Fields, and it was such a broken play. And I think it depends on what you ask about the principles. You could say, well, Greenlaw was supposed to be there, which got some things I need to say about him too. Don't let me forget.
Okay.
And Hufanga, maybe he left on the scramble, but I mean, we won't know. And that's just the type of game. When you let a team hang around, when you let them hang around, when you shoot yourself in the foot, you put yourself in position for that. And that is going to be one of the overarching themes that this is it. This is the last time. It's Wednesday, September 14th. When this show is done, I am going to completely have flipped the page on the Bears, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. Okay. But yeah.
We have to do our post-mortem because we're stuck right there in the middle on the Wednesday. So
Me and you. Yep.
We got to talk about the last game, and then we got to preview the next game.
Yeah. We're on to Seattle, damn it.
Yeah, seriously. Sean says, I like Greenlaw's fire, but how does he control his aggressive play style? He missed a few tackles. I know you've been talking about Greenlaw for a while. So how do you feel with that situation going down? Because it didn't feel like Greenlaw had a very good game.
Picking up right where he left off after 2019. And of course, again, Jason, you're hating. What? Well, it's on film. He consistently runs out of his gaps. He consistently is too aggressive and it causes him to have penalties. It's now, and then there's this narrative about he never misses tackles. An absolute false narrative, especially when you look at the broken tackle percentage. He didn't play much last year. He had a 13% missed tackle percentage. That doesn't sound like nothing. Him and Azeez Al-Shaair missed as many tackles as each other, but yet, in a percentage-wise, but yet, it's Greenlaw tackles everybody never misses, and Azeez misses tackles. Which is it, guys? So look, bad week 1, sure. But he's picking right up where he left off. Week 18, penalty, grabbing an ear hole. Love the aggressiveness. Calm down, dude. The Justin Fields penalty falling on him, I'm not going to put that on him because he should have pulled up. It's hard. It's slick. I get it. You fell on him. You didn't really do anything egregious in that one. I'll give him that. But the face mask penalty when 3 guys are wrapping up on the guy, the play's over. You're not even going to get it. You're not even going to get credited for a quarter of a tackle. You have nothing to gain in this play. The best plays sometimes are the plays you don't make. Sure, swarm to the ball just in case. But when 3 guys have a guy, and those 3 guys, 2 of them are defensive linemen and a linebacker, that guy's not going anywhere. It's not 2 corners that have him. So just calm down, man. And it's just Kyle, and after the Week 18 game with the Rams, well, I love the fire. He's just, he's like a boxer. No. How do you control that? Tell him you want that same aggressiveness. You want him to fly around. Control it, man. Because control it. You're letting drives go on. I'm not going to talk about coverage busts or anything like that because I'm going to go right back to what I said. I don't necessarily know any of those things, so I'm not going to talk about that because a lot of people had blame for him on the Pettis one. Some people had blame for him on the Equinemius St. Brown. I'm not putting blame on him on either of those because I don't understand like what happened there. And I want to normalize saying I don't know. But yes, Dre Greenlaw, it got to a point when you looked at the timeline where people were starting to say the things that I've said, Rich has said, that it's like
you guys got roasted for.
It's on tape, man. Like it's the Lions game. There's literally a gap for him to fill. He goes and flows right behind Fred Warner. It allows Jamal Williams to run 30 yards and the play's over. And Fred Warner looks at Dre Greenlaw and he's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, again, stay in your gap, control yourself. Don't get beat. Like, follow your keys. Those are the things that while he's trying to play fast, he's playing too fast. So this is just one game. I hope he can improve. And I could at least put this on the fact that he does have a contract coming up. So he probably wanted to come out of the gates firing. I can't be mad at that either. Just slow it down, play with a lot more controlled aggression because he can be very good. These things have been there and it's just been bugging me. And then it all came to light in this week 1 game.
Yeah, and it all comes back to Shanahan again saying, got to play cleaner. That you those mistakes that were made against the Bears that ultimately ended in a loss are on, I think, the 49ers. And I think that was the most frustrating part about the Bears game as we kind of wrap it up is self-inflicted, man. They beat themselves. I love Trent Williams' quote. He's like, man, it's hard enough to play against the opposing team. It's even harder when you're playing against yourself. And we know that about the 49ers. You go back to last year when they went through the 0-4 spell, they were beating themselves. This is a common theme that once they get out of their own way, that's when we see them flourish and be the just precision offense that we normally see. But they got to get out of their own way first, or on the defensive side. Like, they have the talent, they have the ability. That's not the question right now. It's just got to get out of your own way. Those penalties killed them. The turnovers killed them. And really, it's really what it comes down to why they lost the game. It's just, and they put themselves in such a bad spot that by the time it was like, all right, we got to go hurry up. We got to spread it out. We got to move the ball fast. It was freaking coming down like I don't even know what. Like, it was raining so freaking hard. Like, you knew. Like, you're like, oh, yeah. Like how are they gonna do that? Like, yeah. So
it's a segue.
Last thoughts on the Bears.
The Bears game. Flush it. We're done. We're done. And this is your perfect segue. The team that is coming into Santa Clara for their game won their game, and I would argue that the opponent that they played shot themselves in the same foot in the same way in just different ways. Like, when you fumble the ball 2 times at the one that should have resulted in 14 points, you're not going to win the game. Or when your coach doesn't call timeout to give your $242 million quarterback the ball and you want to choose a 64-yard
Peyton Manning hitting the timeout 62 times. He's like, what are they doing? What are they doing, man?
Richard Sherman had a really, really spicy quote about it. He said that Russ isn't Peyton or Breeze because they get that, or Mahomes, like they get that, I'm calling timeout. And even if the coach doesn't want to, like, I'm calling timeout. We got to talk about this. Let's fix it. But he said that he doesn't have that power. Either way, it's really funny how one team is coming in winning on a game that many would say they won based on self-inflicted wounds from the opponent. And here come the 49ers, who were the self-inflicted.
So it's quite the matchup, especially too. Elijah Mitchell going down. He's going to be down for at least two months, went to IR. 49ers sign Marlon Mack to the practice squad. Who we know. I mean, Jason, we talked about it like before the Bears game and kind of transitioning it into Seattle game. Did you tweet it or something? I might have caught it, but I think you said something like, if you would have looked and saw that the 49ers ran the ball how many times for how many yards?
They got 173 rushing yards on 37 rushes. What would you have said?
Blowout. The 49ers absolutely destroyed them. Like that's a recipe for 49ers winning football games. And the fact that they lost just again speaks to the self-inflicted wounds. But do you see that kind of being the recipe still moving forward? But who takes, this is also going to be a fantasy question. I think Jeff Wilson was probably one of the biggest waiver wire ads. But of course you got Jordan Mason there sitting in the wings. You had Ty Davis Price inactive. Who's going to be the guy? Who's going to what's the running situation going to look like for the 49ers against the Seahawks?
Well, it'll be Shanahan's guy, which is Jeff Wilson, but you're still going to see Debo in the same way, those 8 carries. So I think that what this whole backup running back question might fall by the wayside when it comes to TDP and Jordan Mason, unfortunately, because I can totally see a world where it's Jeff Wilson and Debo the entire time, back and forth one way or another, man. And I think that Jeff Wilson, they love him. It's a clear reason that he's been number 2 on the depth chart. He's one of Kyle's guys. That's going to happen. But you're still going to see Debo 7 carries, 8 carries, which
good point.
I don't necessarily want to see happen all year. But at the same time, I think Kyle, again, missing that explosiveness with Mostert, it's going to be a combination of both those guys with one of those other guys kind of just taking 1 or 2 carries. But you understand why TDP wasn't active in this game. Jordan Mason actually plays special teams. He offers that. That's what they wanted to have on there. Shout out to the special teams, actually play pretty well. But yeah, it's going to be Debo and Jeff Wilson, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Debo does feel like he's going to be sliding back more into that 2021 role where they're like, hey, man, we need you. We need you to carry us again. Like it's starting to feel like it's moving in that direction. I think you said 7 to 8. Do you think it creeps up to maybe 10 or 12
I hope
carries a game and it becomes like a true like split? Because I mean, the 49ers are going to need someone who can be explosive, and make cuts on a dime. We see not everything's perfect up front yet with the 49ers. There's little cracks here or there, at least what we saw against the Bears. So you need a guy who can start and stop on a dime and explode through these holes still and get positive yards. So I still think Debo, when we look at the Bears, he was running primarily to the edges. I didn't see a whole lot to the interior, which is the recipe that I like. It's when we start seeing him actually take those mid zones or gap scheme type runs up the middle where we're like, ooh, that's where you're getting hit by defensive tackles, linebackers. 3 to 4 guys are just smashing them at one time. I think that's what we don't want to see. When you get them out in space, or at least to the edges, it gets them more matched up with potentially cornerbacks, safeties, nickelbacks, and linebackers, which he goes up against. But you get away from those big guys up front. And we know he's going to be able to shake and bake out there. So it is going to be interesting. Do you think Marlon Mack dresses, or do you think he's insurance policy as of right now?
Yeah, I think he's an insurance policy. I think it was out there that the 49ers were interested in trading for him. And I was very big on him in Indianapolis when he was there, when Brissett was the quarterback that year. But yeah, I think it's just going to be insurance at this point, and it has to be that because he's a veteran. I'm very shocked. And you know what's funny is, everybody had Marlon Mack out there as like, oh, go sign him and everything. But I was the one that threw out there on one of the pods. I was like, and you're going to see the group of Shanahan running backs. I was like, I wouldn't be shocked if it was Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman. Sure enough, I couldn't believe it. I was like, there they are. I was like, so again, there was a little bit of like, all right, I trust these guys and I want to see them come in. But then I guess Marlon Mack did enough for them to bring him in. I like the move. I mean, I think that a lot of what happened in Houston has little to do with the fact that he wasn't exactly good. I mean, because he did play against the 49ers. I think he actually hit a hole pretty fast. I mean, again, you could say this against third stringers, things like that. But Dameon Pierce is somebody that they want to go with. And remember, Rex Burkhead is this guy, Nick Caserio's guy, man. Again, you have to remember sometimes when guys aren't on
roster
rosters,
politics.
it's roster politics, and that's my guy. I'm not going to get rid of him. I'm going to keep, you can go on, but I'm not getting rid of him. So that's
he
why
knows Burkhead much better. Trust Burkhead.
Yes.
Marlon Mack signed free agent 1 year. Like,
take a shot. It felt like they took a flyer. It felt like they took a flyer. Like, if Dameon Pierce didn't show enough, then it's okay. Then we can roll with him. And, but Dameon Pierce did show enough. And Rex Burkhead's his guy. That's why he's not there. So it's not necessarily that he's washed or anything like that. A lot of people were interested to see how he bounced back from the Achilles. Apparently, that has nothing to do with James Robinson, who can just come right back and just be like damn near dominant on his Achilles. But yeah, I like it. It's an insurance policy, and it's a good move for a solid player.
Yeah, I love it too. I like it a lot better than some of the running backs that the 49ers were signing last year. Your Trenton Cannons, your Brian Hills. Like, it's a lot better situation than those guys. Big fan of Marlon Mack. The only reason why I saw him slow down was because of the injury in 2020, and then they so happened to land on Jonathan Taylor in that particular draft, and the rest is history from that point on.
Not
so
bad.
We'll see. Not bad. So we'll see how he continues to and what the actual acclimation process looks like for him. But Geno Smith, man, he was the crown jewel of Monday Night Football with his performance again. Well, you kind of talked about it already. It was more about Russell Wilson, the coaching staff on the Denver Broncos side, the kind of 2 fumbles. Was it both Javonte, your son, and you're not your son, Melly, both fumbled.
It was both of them. It was both of them, but we're not taking Javonte Williams slander because he broke out on the national stage, and I tried to tell y'all.
He looked really good.
He was hooping.
Why do they keep splitting reps with those two?
I don't know, Brad. But can I just make a quick joke about Seattle real fast, or Russell Wilson? Oh man, you get to the one that ran the ball these times and it's not working either. Well, Russell Wilson, man, you got problems in the red zone, buddy. What's going on?
Oh boy, definitely do. But how do you think the 49ers defense matches up against that offensive line? You got 2 rookies, both on the tackles, good rookies, but
I don't know. Averly, what do you think?
You got an Averly. Hey, Averly.
What do you think? Go, baby, go.
All right.
If she's not gonna give analysis, yeah, she's thinking about starting her YouTube career. I think that's what it is.
I feel it.
How do the 49ers match up? So if you notice the pass charts on Geno Smith, first of all, congratulations, Geno Smith. That has been something that he had circled and he wanted to prove a lot. Again, I think we talk about guys just being cushy and not having that competitive spirit. I felt like when you saw him at the end of that interview, that's what that was. He had been waiting a long time, and Pete Carroll got a little spicy about wanting that win too. He was like, well, I'll let you figure it out. But I was like, ooh, everybody had revenge on their mind in this one. So I like it. But if you look at Geno Smith's pass chart, everything was 5 to 10 yards either on the outside, not really too much in the middle, but quick throws, getting it out. I think he had one pass to DK Metcalf that had 33 air yards on it. So it wasn't necessarily that they were doing anything offensively that was like blowing Denver away. I think they were playing the Geno Smith strength. So that's what it's going to be. Obviously, the goal is to have Charvarius Ward wrap up with DK Metcalf. I think that's going to be the first thing that I'm looking at because the 49ers have struggled at times, aside from Emmanuel Mosley does a pretty good job on him. I'm not going to lie. And he does as he does on everybody else. But the Charvarius Ward Metcalf one is the one I'm looking at. And I'm interested to see how that shakes out because if you take away him, Tyler Lockett wasn't really much of a factor. And then you factor in the way that Geno Smith wants to live and how they want to have this passing game operate. The 49ers got to play fast, free, and get down and no yards after the catch. Do not miss any tackles. Finish off drives, and on third down, get off like that. And that sounds cliche. That's what it's going to be every game. But when you look back at the Seattle game, everything was like very short, very quick throws, all of those things. So it wasn't necessarily that they were just killing them down the field or necessarily running the ball all over them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely saw an area where the 49ers defensive ends could have success in this game. And speaking of defensive ends, we had a couple roster moves come through. We had, this is from Lindsay Polaris of the 49ers. She says, Kamoka Toure has been promoted to the active roster. Defensive lineman Jordan Willis has been placed on injured reserve. Running backs Marlon Mack and Willie Snead have been signed to the practice squad officially. So there are some roster moves right there. What are your thoughts on Jordan Willis going to IR?
Sucks, man. 49er legend. I don't care. He shouldn't be. He shouldn't
Mhm.
have to. He shouldn't have to buy a beer anywhere in the Bay Area at all, man. He's a legend. But imagine having Kamiko Torre just sitting out there in the practice squad and being able to call on him and add
No,
him to your rotation. Yeah,
we'll bring him up. Why
we'll just
not?
call up Torre, man. Like, let's just see what happens. So beautiful move. You love it. You love it, and you want to see what this offensive line is going to look like against these guys, and in hopefully better conditions. Hopefully.
Oh, per reports as of now, the rain is following the San Francisco 49ers from Chicago to the Bay Area. Can you freaking believe it? It looks like the 49ers are going to be headed into yet another game this Sunday where it's going to be a little wet. What do you think about
Yay. I don't know, man. What did we do? See, I had a theory. I thought it was Matt Eberflus because the Colts game, he's a defensive coordinator. Chicago, first game. Anytime he faces the 49er, it's just going to rain and rain and rain. That's what I thought it was. But now I can't blame it on this. But a lot of people say, well, what's rain? You know, up here it's different. It's not like this over there. Is it going to be just a drizzle? Is it going to be on and off? Look, guys, salute to every single one of you 49er fans that went to the Bears game. Salute to the Bears fans that stood out there. Salute to the 49er fans that are ready to go on Sunday. I can tell you it's absolutely miserable watching football, and I don't like it. It's not a fun experience. I don't like it, and I don't care. Oh, he's soft, whatever. Who wants to stand there drenched while bad football is being played, and it evens the odds between the two teams? Like, if it is going to be torrential downpour, I don't think it's going to be that bomb cyclone that everybody is saying, from the Colts game. But my only experience really doing that, two experiences actually. Washington 2019, horrible game. And Senior Bowl Day 2 this past year, literally standing out there because there are no TVs under the bleachers for you to watch. If you want to watch practice, you just got to stand out there and get drenched. It sucks. Shout out to the faithful. Get out there, get loud, and propel this team to a win. But what did we do? What football god did we anger? How did this happen? Do we pray to Al Bundy to make this stop? Like, what the hell? Like, I don't understand. Like, why more rain? Unbelievable.
So the 49ers also have signed Kerry Vincent Jr. He is a undrafted free agent cornerback at a LSU. Originally, or he was not undrafted. He's originally drafted by the Denver Broncos in the 7th round in 2021, but the 49ers just added him to the practice squad. So a bunch of 49ers been making some moves lately here, getting their practice squad ironed out and all that type of stuff. Oh, Dak Prescott got hurt. Do you think there's any chance in hell that Jerry Jones calls up Santa Clara and says, hey, how much for Mr. Garoppolo?
No, because he's a moron, and there's already a report out there that says that they're not going to expect to do it. So, you know what, man? You know, we can make fun of the Dallas Cowboys. I actually don't like it when quarterbacks or anyone is injured because I enjoy watching good football. I do not enjoy watching Cooper Rush play football, and the Dallas Cowboys are always on the damn TV one way or another. So you and I, you know who loses? America's team loses, but America loses because we have to watch Cooper Rush play extended football.
All my CeeDee Lamb stonks lose.
Oh, I don't even know what to do. I don't know what to do. Everybody's sending me offers, and I'm like,
oh, man.
I'm like, no.
I drafted him as a wide receiver 1 in one league, and I'm like, oh, that was a terrible mistake.
God, imagine being like the guy who's like, you know what? I'm going to take a shot on Ezekiel Elliott, too. Eek, man. It, like all the entire Dallas Cowboys offense in the basement right now. But hey, at least Micah Parsons is pretty good.
Yeah. But hey, since we are speaking of 49ers fans, it's a good thing for us when, at least seeing Dallas is on the lower end of the totem pole. But I don't know if Jerry will pull the trigger on Jimmy Garoppolo. We'll find out. But it feels like they would have had to made a move pretty quickly, right? Yeah. Like maybe something would happen by now. Again, we'll see. Maybe that changes after Cooper Rush goes out there and embarrasses the brand on national television.
You're giving Jerry Jones a lot of credit, man. So this was an 8-week injury, which, put Dak Prescott on IR.
He said it was 4. He's like, I only think he's going to miss 4 games.
Broke a thumb. He better ride it like 4 games. Put some ice on it. rub some dirt on it. He'll get out there. Like you start to forget the
Well, just
ineptitude that is
inject
Jerry
it with
Jones.
whatever they got
It's
over
all right,
there.
man. Just shoot
Fine.
him up with painkillers and throw him out there. That's how you
The
really
whole
destroy
Drew
somebody's thumb.
Brees method, right? Just shoot him
Right.
up and get him out there.
Get him out there. Just wrap the thumb up. It's good. No, like it's not a 4-week injury. Many people have told you, doctors, not fantasy football doctors, and not Twitter doctors. Jesus, man.
So, taking a quick stab back at Seattle, any last things that we want to talk about as we kind of wrap up the preview? Of course, we've talked enough about the Bears, but with this Seattle game coming up, like what let's just what is going to be the situation if the outcome isn't what we want it to be? And I think you know what I'm saying.
Oh Lord, the streets are not going to be happy. I just, I think that we all joked about it, with Garoppolo going over there. Well, Garoppolo beats them in week 2. I mean, if Geno Smith knocks his team off, the panic will spread. And I mean, I, for one, won't unless I see some things that I'm like, all right, this is horrific. Like, they have much bigger problems than 1 or 2 things, which I don't suspect. But yeah, the vibes. If this doesn't go the way the 49ers want to, the panic will spread. People will point fingers. The questions will be asked. The noise will get louder. So yeah, the 49ers got to have this one, especially when you think that you're going to the home opener in Denver in week 3 on Monday Night Football. And that is going to be the first real big test against a team that we think is on their way to the playoffs or possibly close.
It's clearly a must win for 49ers podcasters, 49ers fans. Do you think the 49ers internally are just like, bro, we got to win this game or else the storm is going to hit our doorstep really tough? Or do you think they don't think of it like that? Again, it's a long season. It's a 17-game season. So I would imagine they don't think of it like we do, where we're week to week on everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can go, this guy's a superstar one week, and the next week he's the biggest bum in the world. So it fluctuates from the fan bases and things like that. Well, how do you think the 49ers are looking at this game?
I mean, I think Nick Bosa said it right. They've been through worse than just 0-1, probably been through worse than 0-2. So I don't think they view it that way. I think they may be thinking it, but I don't think that that's a message that is in that locker room right now. I don't think. And if you ask Kyle, I'm sure somebody's going to ask him at a presser, going forward, is this a must win for your team? Do you feel like, we really don't feel like it's a must win? And, I mean, we got a lot of guys in that locker room where, we believe in, and it's a 17-game season and things can happen. So, we're just committed to the guys in that, like that. That's what you're going to get. So, I mean, I think it's in their minds, but I don't think that that's going to be something that they're exuding or speaking about.
Yeah. What does Trey Lance have to do to have a successful day?
Be similar in the way that he was in this game, limit the turnovers, manage the game, but make the plays when they ask you to, and just keep going, man. Just keep working. Like, again, this isn't going to be a 1-week thing. This is not going to be a 2-week thing. This is not going to be a 1-year thing. This is not going to be a 2-year thing. If this is your guy, then it's got to happen in steps. May not happen as fast as certain fans want it to, but if he played the way that he played in that Bears game, and they don't shoot themselves in the foot, they probably win the game, because they have to limit the turnovers. They would have scored on a different drive, and they wouldn't have had this busted cover. So again, he doesn't have to do too many things different than what he did in this game for them to win this game, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think they will be aided if George Kittle can come back. Again, I think he is missed in that run game. I don't think Tyler Kroft or Charlie Warner did a terrible job, but I think there were a couple of plays where I would look and be like, yeah, George Kittle would have definitely made this play particularly pop. I think there was one in the red zone where I think Debo would have got in there if it was George on the outside, because I know he would have gotten the correct double and it would have gotten the backer with the correct timing. So they'll always miss George when he's not out there on the field. So we'll see what happens. But it's week 2, man. It feels like the 49er faithful are in mid-season form. Takes everywhere. It's gonna be quite the ride. So we'll see how everything plays out. But anything we want to end on, Jason, where can the good people find more of your content as well? You're muted, my boy.
Shout out to you, Brad, first of all, for your partnership with the 49ers with Cron 4, man. That is huge, man. You love to see it, bro. I am so proud of you, man. I didn't want to tell you in a public forum, so I text you first or whatever, but this is the first time you and I have been able to speak face to face, so had to do it again, man, to let you know, like, yo, couldn't happen to a better, more genuine person, man. So thank you as always for being a good friend and being somebody that I could always lean on when it comes to, asking questions about offensive line and other things that I'm not necessarily sure of. But yeah, Niners Nation just dropped an article about was cutting Trey Sermon a mistake. You guys should go check that out. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Oh, hey there, podcast, wherever you get your audio podcast, Sprint Right Option podcast, wherever you get your podcast. And also sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code Aponte. I put out 5 picks of higher, lower, and I hit on 4 of the 5. The only one I didn't hit was Javonte Williams higher on his rushing yards. But if you sign up, use the promo code, and you do the parlays, you get the Pick'em insurance, which means 4 wins at least, and you win. Go make that money, man. I'm not missing on these props, man. You need to see me about that.
I think I'm going to have to see you about that because I'm seeing it across all the apps now. Like it feels like everyone's doing that, but I might have to tap in with Underdog Fantasy, use your promo code because it does feel like there are some instances where you're like, man, that feels like you're stealing money. Like on that over-under prop, you're like, yeah, I think that guy's absolutely going to hit that. It feels like, hey, what if I just throw $10 on that? Well, throw 20. Well, and then but that's how you get in trouble because pretty soon you're throwing 500.
Responsible gambling, responsible wagering, always.
Absolutely. Appreciate everyone tapping in the chat as always. Love to see Jason working out here. All the content, hey man, all the content creators are moving and you love to see it. We're out here grinding.
It's time.
And we appreciate all your guys' support in the chat, man. Of course, we can't do this without any of your guys' support. So it's been a blast and we got a long year ahead of us, but it's going to be a good year nonetheless. So you guys already know the vibes. Sub to both channels, hit the like button on both channels on your way out, and we will see you again next week for the State of the Franchise episode. That's it for us now. We're out of here. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see you.